and no after that.
So I'm a gross.
They say justice is blind. I sure hope it ain't deaf.
I've been following these people for a long time.
That we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine.
Shut up and eat your garbage.
Come.
Oh, you guys can just go.
You can't just come over here and say you can go just like that. Forget about it.
The man forgets his number, spends the night in the box.
Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Jesus Christ, even we have believed in Jesus Christ, that we might be justified by the faith of Christ, and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. One thing that will have to be justified by the law is the recent collapse of the Silicon Valley banks. Now, while these banks were being irresponsible with investments, they also let HR and inclusion destroy their company from within by hiring people who were not qualified to do the job, then including them in extremely difficult and complicated projects. These banks also had very, very large companies withdraw all of their money the day before. All of the wire transfers were blocked the next day. So yes, it was very likely planned. And whatever the mainstream news says about it is probably the opposite of what happened. Meanwhile, the Ohio chemical spill in East Palestine has definitely leaked into the water, and traces of that chemical spill are likely being used in the homes now. And of course, the real estate value in that area has been completely destroyed because the housing market already crashed. A change in presidency could possibly bring it back up as people are pushed towards the smart cities, smart cars, Neuralink, and Singularity, which will be the Luciferian AI hive mind. One person who is pivotal in the AI hive mind from long ago is the Count DeMolay. Count DeMolay was burned at the stake for heresy and is the reason for Friday the 13th. He was the Grand Master of the Templars at the time. The status of Templar can now be attained by attaining the 10th level of the York Rite of Freemasonry. You become a Templar at that point. And someone who liked Count DeMolay was Walt Disney, as he was given the Count DeMolay Award in 1951 in Kansas City. Even Bill Cooper was a junior Count DeMolay member, but I do think his stories have proven to be true over time. Bob Dobbs is Illuminati code. Look up Bob Dobbs sometime. Hitler probably knows who Bob Dobbs is, as he was taught directly by Madame Blavatsky, and he was well versed in theosophy, which you can see in his symbolism and the symbols behind his party, including the red, black, and white, which you will likely see on most frames of any television program or commercial that you happen to be watching. Red, black, and white, when used by the television, is speaking in code, and you will see the combination of red, black, and white on most movie stars, commercials, TV shows, and anything else that happens to be on mainstream television. It is the colors of those that have reached level of the York Rite and have attained Templar status. The color of the Templars are red, black, and white. Mussolini knew about red, black, and white, even though his army didn't suggest that. He actually kidnapped Mary Montessori of the Montessori schools and forced her to teach his grandchildren in person, and she was held captive to do that for several years. The same person who founded the Montessori schools literally taught Mussolini's grandkids, and Mussolini is well known for being a fascist. And again, communism, fascism, capitalism are all made by the same people. Communism didn't initially take hold in Italy, so they had to call it something else to get the people to buy in there, which never really happened because it's wrong and nobody likes it. Just like nobody really likes communism if they truly know what it is. They may like the concept of being communal, but not communalism, communism. Socialism has never existed on the planet Earth, truly. There has not been a communist-based utopian society on the planet, ever. There have been plenty of countries with horrible communist governments that oppressed their people, but never a utopia, because that is impossible through the government. And anyone who has ever seen the movie Citizen Kane, which is a parody about William Randolph Hearst's life. William Randolph Hearst was a big media mogul who lived out in California and started up a bunch of early newspapers and is well known for doing the yellow fever or yellow scare in America, which led to the building and defense of the Panama Canal, especially after the destruction and explosion of a battleship was staged in the Gulf off the coast of Panama. At the end of the movie Citizen Kane, when they are showing us Rosebud, they are showing us the symbol for the Rosicrucians, and that William Randolph Hearst was a Rosicrucian. They are also showing the Rosebud as the international symbol of communism. His daughter would go on to be quote-unquote captured by a cult and forced to do a bank robbery, and then held for ransom. Patty Hearst. His granddaughter is one of the richest ladies in America, and her granddad, William Randolph Hearst, was responsible for promoting racism in the United States of America in the early 1900s. Specifically racism against Hispanics. William Randolph Hearst studied the teachings of Christian Rosicrucians, who is the founder of the Rosicrucians. These are the people who tried to change the Bible. The Freemasons also tried to change the Bible, and there are even Freemason versions of the Bible, but believers already knew what the word was and had millions and millions of copies when the Freemasons and other groups tried to change the Bible. One thing that's changed in translation is the term wineskins has been changed to bottles. And I guess that's okay, but as many of us know, there were not bottles around back then. Since they like to teach falsely about the Bible, I think it is right that we should teach in truth about what they do. Each step in Freemasonry represents a degree. The first 3 steps at the base represent the Blue Lodge. These are the ignorant clowns that know absolutely nothing about Freemasonry or Christianity. The Blue Lodge degrees consist of Entered Apprentice, Fellowcraft, and Master Mason. Every Freemason is a member of a Blue Lodge. Once a Mason has obtained the Master Mason degree, which should take about 3 months, they are then eligible to join the Scottish Rite or the York Rite, and they are allowed to enter both, as there are degrees within degrees, lateral degrees and degrees inside another degree, including the Memphis degree. The first step of York Rite Freemasonry is the Mark Master degree, and again the top degree is the Knights Templar degree. The Scottish Rite goes from 4 to 32. The 33rd degree is an honorary degree, and if a Mason applies for the 33rd degree as a 32nd degree, they are automatically rejected as they have to be nominated by someone else. After they have attained the top degree in either the York Rite or the Scottish Rite, they are then eligible to join the Shrine, the ancient Arabic order nobles of the mystic shrine. This would be the Shriners group that owns the hospitals. There are many other types of Freemason groups. DeMolay, which Bill Cooper was said to be in, was an organization for young men. So yes, at one time, Bill Cooper was a Freemason. Rainbow Girls is the Freemason organization for young women. Job's Daughters is the organization for older girls. The Order of the Eastern Czar is for the wives and daughters of Freemasons. This group in particular has the upside-down pentagram as their preferred symbol, usually in a rainbow color, but not always. There are over 100 different types of Freemason entities and bodies, of which Albert Pike, Manly P. Hall, and Aleister Crowley are of the highest rank and the most highly regarded Freemasons, besides maybe the ancient ones like Hiram Abiff or the author of the Zohar, or Sabbatain Ziti. The 13 steps on the pyramid seen on the dollar bill represents 13 steps within the Freemasonry system to where at the top they would reach Illuminati status. The fourth step of the pyramid is the Grand Inspector Sovereigns General of the 33rd degree. On the next step, or fifth step, the Supreme Council of Grand Sovereign Inspectors General. Above that is the Order of the Trapezoid. Above that is the Ancient and Primitive Rite of Memphis, 97th degree. Ordo Templis Orientis is after that on the next level. It is also called OTO. Above that is the Palladian Rite, which progresses further into the Illuminati, which is the inner circle of secret societies. After that is the Council of Nine Unknown Men. Above that level is the Council of Seven. The 13th course is Ein Sof Hour, also referenced by them as the Grand Architect of the Universe. This is Kabbalist doctrine, as they believe Ein Sof is a snake inside a tree of life that is the creator, as the Ein Sof level is the 13th and final level of the pyramid seen on the dollar bill. And at the top, they claim to be taking their orders directly from Ein Sof. This is one motivation behind the hermaphroditic movement, as Ein Sof is Lucifer and Lucifer is hermaphroditic or androgynous, either way. It definitely takes some type of female form at times. It's just another pyramid scheme. One of the lesser known strategies of the NWO Illuminati is to rejoin Mexico to the United States. They have to rejoin Mexico to the United States for their plan to work. Now you know why the borders are open and very scarcely guarded. There are spots on the Mexican-U.S. border that have no fencing whatsoever and are just an open field. As of late, only 150 Texas Rangers have been responsible for the entire border.
Any man loud talking spends a night in a box.
Some will say the resurrection has already passed, overthrowing the faith of some, or causing them to fall away from the faith. I say this because Bill Cooper believed the resurrection had already passed, and he disagreed with Paul the Apostle, although he quoted him many times. And although I agree with both parties, Bill Cooper and Paul the Apostle, I will point out that Paul the Apostle does reference himself as a wise master builder once in the New Testament. And again, Bill Cooper was a junior Count DeMolay member. He was a junior Freemason. Now, I think we all would like to think, after what he has said about them, that he got out. I do frequently use him as a reference or to check facts. He believed the resurrection had already come because he said that Paul the Apostle had written the wrath had come to the utmost. And 99.9% of his stories check out. But what doesn't check out is that the resurrection has already passed. He said Jesus had already come, but Jesus did not come in the clouds with white hair, eyes like a flame, and a face like the countenance of the sun, as none of us would be here currently. And again, there is no pre-tribulation rapture. That was made up in 1855, along with communism, ecumenism, and theosophy. 1855 was a bad year for us and a good year for the devil. And again, I like Bill Cooper, but not everybody can get everything right all the time, and he does get some stuff wrong, like his beliefs on evolution. He has pushed and pushed and pushed that evolution is older than 1855, when I think many of us know now that Charles Darwin stole the idealism behind evolution from his granddad, Erasmus Darwin, who I've said before was a Druid high priest and Kabbalist wizard. Darwin did not go to the Galapagos Islands. He didn't go anywhere. He didn't document anything. He stole that doctrine, and other people helped him perfect it so that the public would believe it. And I'm ashamed that it was legalized in the state of Tennessee. Both Clarence Darrow and William Jennings Bryan were Illuminists. How do you base the premise of evolution being real on God giving the snake a punishment to crawl on his belly, as Clarence Darrow said that he was already doing that in his closing arguments. Clarence Darrow, however, did not factor in the many forms of Lucifer, including the feathered serpent, which is the real name of America. Amaruca, and it is the same in South America. That is why all of the cultures and civilizations down there worshipped a winged serpent deity called Amaru for the Incans and Quetzalcoatl for the Aztec. So if the serpent was winged and then he was made to crawl on his belly, that actually would be a punishment, Mr. Darrow. But we know Clarence Darrow cannot hear us, as people in hell are not able to hear us and are not able to pass between. As the Bible said, there is a gulf fixed in between us. The story of Lazarus will detail that. I would like to cover R.H. blood, but I don't know anything about it yet, and I need to research it heavily before I open my mouth and say anything about it. But if I had to guess, I bet it is a way the elite trick people into thinking that they are better than them. That would play into their false evolution narrative of the 13 satanic bloodlines. And while some of these bloodlines do exist still today and are still running the show, God put an end to many of them, and not all 13 are still around. One that is still around would be King Gustav of Sweden, who claims to be related to the House of David, and he actually has veto power over the Pope. I believe his lineage can be traced to the Bourbon dynasty and Napoleon. Some of you may have heard me speak about Nimrod before. Nimrod was the founder of Babylon, Akai, Kalad, and what was later called Nineveh, the same place where Jonah was sent to preach the doctrine of repentance. When Nimrod first built Babylon, which is considered to be the first civilization, he also had a college there. The college was a school of architecture, of which was the first school of Freemasonry. So now you know how old it is. The Kabbalist doctrine of the Freemasons didn't come in until later, as they will literally worship everything, including a tree. And no, we don't all have a collective consciousness. That is a Luciferian doctrine. You and I do not share consciousness with a tree or a bird or anything else. And everyone has their own interpersonal relationship with God the Father. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in.